another son in place of Abel.
There are few stories that can match the longevity and the power of Cain and Abel over Western civilization. And I'm curious, asking a group of writers this, why do you think that's so? How do you account for the popularity of this story?
I think the firstness of it. Cain is not made by God, etc., made by his parents. He's the first fully human being, and his victim is the second fully human being. And it's the first murder.
It's the first murder. It's also the first death. This is the way death actually, as a reality, the idea of death, concept of death, was hanging around in the first 3 chapters. But now death has actually entered into the world, and it enters into the world through a murder. So the reality of death and all the ramifications of that are here in this story.
And still with us.
And still with us.
When we also talk about murder, I think it's also interesting to note, yes, this was the first murder. Did he actually realize he was going to murder? Remember, murder had never taken place before. Did he really mean to mortally wound him, or was it just happen that way?
It seems to me so much of it just doesn't add up dramaturgically.
As literature, as a narrative.
Yeah, as a thing that hangs together. Poor old Cain, presumably brought up by his parents, presumably sharing with his parents having eaten the fruit and some knowledge of good and bad. Poor old Cain, he invents religion. I mean, it's his idea. Let's have a sacrifice. Abel didn't say, how about it now? Cain says, look here, I'm a farmer. I'm going to bring in some of my fruit and give it to God. Nobody ever thought of that before. Cain thought of that. I'm saying, go Cain.
You know, I mean,
brother one-ups him. God comes in. And does the meat. If I was Cain, my face would fall too. No wonder Cain is wroth in some translations.
This is heavy-duty rejection. Right?
Heavy-duty what?
Rejection, right? From the Father who sees you completely.
Right. This doesn't exculpate the murder, but it certainly is some sort of extenuating circumstance for the wrath and the disappointment and the puzzlement. I would say, God, if this were an opera, God would be the baritone. God is the heavy who comes in at this point and says, don't you, etc. And I'm looking at what God's saying to Cain there. If you do better, etc. Well, Cain did his best. Who told him this wouldn't do? God.
This is such a generous impulse. I mean, this is his father and mother had been cast out, right? They couldn't stand before God, right? They were removed from the presence of God. And Cain is trying to. He's trying to engage God again.
He
is standing up. Prayer
as a farmer, like Adam.
Prayer and sacrifice are a way of, trying to engage with the divine presence. It's almost as if he doesn't quite know what he's getting into.
This is one of a handful of things that don't, on the face of it, immediately add up.
When he kills Abel, to me, it's not really about Abel. It's about striking back at God. And think for just a moment, because I think this is very interesting for a novelist, about the phenomenological, if you will, experience of envy. What is that? Who do you envy, really? It's someone who must be enough like you, but with just a little bit of difference, right? Mm-hmm. You don't envy somebody who's totally different. You're related. You have a relationship. Maybe you're in the same profession, right? I'm not going to envy a doctor. I'm going to envy Oscar Hijuelos as a novelist, or John Barth. And the question is, why is their offering, which is their self, received so fully and mine not? So the envy is going to be really tremendous because there's this relationship, I really think, between self and other. It's almost like a doubling, almost like a twin. And yet your equality is not in the world. It's something that we have to accept, whether we like it or not. So that the only thing he can do is eliminate him. But by eliminating him, he gets rid of his better possibilities.
What do you mean?
His better possibilities of purity of heart and his sacrifice, that's gone. And it's always going to be there, I think, to haunt him.
When you're a kid and you first hear a story like that, your only impression is, it's not even narrative, but the main thing you hear is that it's bad to kill your brother. If you're raised, as I was as a Catholic, you sort of have this notion of the creation that things were set into motion and that in itself that's a benevolent act. But as I was saying, when I was a kid, I just thought that the story was about saying this is wrong.
What about you? Did you hear this story growing up as a Catholic?
Yeah. Well, yes, we didn't read it. We weren't. I mean, that's a really important. We weren't allowed to read the Bible in the 50s. You heard the Bible because it was considered. You weren't.